Good evening, colleagues or partners. Welcome to the 12th session of the 2022 Cities on the Frontline Speaker Series on the topic of small businesses for urban resilience, place-based SMEs, adaptation, and innovation. My name is Uri Reich. I'm a senior urban specialist with the World Bank based in Singapore. And before I hand off the microphone to my co-host Nini to introduce the topic of the session and the partners, I want to remind everyone of the intention and the ground rules of the conversation today. Cities on the Frontline, it's a virtual speaker series featuring solutions for cities by cities. It began in 2020 through a partnership between the Resilient Cities Network and the World Bank's Group Cities Resilience Program. The series provides city practitioners and the industries and residents that they support with a platform for knowledge exchange. Each session provides the audience with knowledge and discussion that can help them to respond to intensifying and cascading challenges, including those arising from climate change, social unrest, and the COVID-19 pandemic, while providing solutions for planning a more resilient future. All sessions are recorded and the video and presentations are available at our website, so please ask that you do not attribute any comments made today to the speakers unless they are included in the materials available after the call, or if you have the person express permission to do so. We are thrilled at the response of the speaker series, and we have close to 200 people registered for the call globally. To facilitate this discussion, please use the Q&A function to pose your questions. Over to you.
Thank you, Uri, and hello, I'm Nini Purwajati from Resilient Cities Network, and I have the pleasure today to introduce the topic and the speakers. So SMEs are key drivers of economic opportunities and resilience transformation in cities. They are truly on the front lines. SMEs are also often very closely related to local identity and culture, connected to the places and its local community, while also in need to adapt, transform, and innovate. So first, we will hear from Guilherme Johnston, an old friend of ours. Guilherme is the head of global partnership at Connected Places Catapult. He has extensive experience, including with ICLI and 100 Resilient Cities, and he will walk us through into how place-based innovation can contribute to local economies that demonstrate resilience and inclusivity. Next, we will hear from two Southeast Asia cities, Da Nang and Bangkok, who are part of our Catalyzing City Resilience Solution Program, City Foundation supported program on how local government could work closely together with SMEs for their resilient recovery and urban resilience. They will share about their work in supporting two local communities currently in transitions. So first, we'll hear from Da Nang, represented by Mr. Tan from the DONRE, or Department of Natural Resources and Environment of Da Nang City. He has environmental engineering as his background, and together with Dr. Q Taken, or Dr. Kun from Building Up Sustainability Center. And last but not least, we will hear from Bangkok, represented by Ms. Prangchai Sunvittayagul from the International Affairs Office of Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, and I can say also our new residence champions of Bangkok. Also joined by Dr. Kanjanee Buddhimedhee, or G, Principal of Urban Sense Lab and Urban Management Coordinator of the Graduate Program at of Design and Planning at KMUTT, King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi. She has extensive experience working together with communities in Bangkok toward resilient and sustainable development. So without further ado, Guilherme, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Nini, Uri, the World Bank and the Resilient Cities Network. It's with great pleasure that I'm here to speak a little bit about the connection between SMEs, innovation, and place-based. And it's really good to be back here. And yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. So I have a brief presentation here that I'd like to share, and it would be great to have some follow-up discussions after that. So the idea here would be to talk a little bit about small businesses for urban resilience, as it is the topic. And briefly, I would just like to introduce Connected Places Catapult for the ones who don't know us. So we are a UK-based organization. We were created by the UK government about 8 years ago, exactly with this idea of fostering innovation and collaboration between cities, SMEs, large companies, academia, and others, because we know there is a lack of interaction among these areas, both in the UK and internationally. So we, as Connected Places Catapult, we're here to accelerate smarter living and traveling in between places. So not only cities, but we call places. So we work quite a lot as well with train stations, highways, airports, and everything that's related to urban or infrastructure in general. And we are part of the Catapult network, which is a network of 9 catapults in the UK, and they all work in one specific area, which the UK has great capability, such as high-value manufacture, precise medicine, offshore renewable energy, cell and gene therapy, satellite applications, and others. So it's all about this industry collaboration with different stakeholders, and we really serve as these conveners on this domain. And as I said, we are the ones working with transport and cities. And we are quite active, I mean, internationally as well, working from Malaysia, South Korea, India, Latin America, and Africa, and other places. I'll briefly mention some of our projects as well later. So I think here we are here to talk a little bit about how innovation, having innovation in places can contribute to local economies, and then try to address this idea of resilience and also inclusivity, which is also key, particularly when you are recovering from the pandemic and all other shocks, I mean, that unbelievable we're all going through right now. So, I mean, just to start with, of course, we know that SMEs are key to develop these types of activities and engagement, because first of all, I think in most countries, SMEs are the ones who generate more jobs and also are the ones who can really bring innovation into to addressing resilience and other related challenges. And something for us as well, is technology is not always the answer, because sometimes you think, let's bring in this innovative companies and all that can really bring like a high-tech solution to a problem. But sometimes the problem is quite, I mean, the challenges is quite, you know, it can be a big challenge, but you don't need like a really technological answer. Sometimes it's quite simple, something that you can use, you know, with other stakeholder engagement and other activities can be the answer. So I think this is also important to have in mind when you live in this world, or let's bring in all solutions, innovative solutions and all that, but sometimes we don't need all this tech for that. And of course, when you create these hubs of innovation, they're also key in developing these solutions. And also, I think when you think about local governments or city governments, they are the ones that are definitely the enablers for this, but again, they are not the only ones, and shouldn't be centralized only on them. I think it's really important to look at the whole ecosystem, what else is happening in the city or in this specific place that can help to address this resilience and other related challenges. So definitely, if you look at place-based innovation, this is very pretty much key on how we can help the economic recovery for in every area that you work. So I think it's really important to focus in one specific location, place, and then try to engage with all the different stakeholders. So the way we've been trying to do this, just as I don't have much time, so it's just to give some examples. So here at CPC, as I said, we are created to connect these different, all the different stakeholders, and also try to remove sort of like these market barriers to innovate. As I said, not in a way with technology, but innovate in general. So by doing that, we are able to approach SMEs and cities, and so both can also learn better the way that they can interact, because sometimes an SME, they may have a solution, but the city is not ready yet for this kind of solution, or vice versa as well. So there are a lot of challenges in terms of, how we can test the solution, how can we address this issue. So that's why we created this sort of, this concept of the innovation factory as well, when you're trying to remove markets and really increase inclusivity and economic development for SMEs. So the way we try to make it work, it's really important to first try to identify what is this need that there is for innovation. What is the challenge that you have? Because otherwise it's quite difficult, if you don't identify exactly the challenge that this specific location or place has in terms of resilience or any other challenge, transport or any other activity. Then we always try to sort of prioritize the different challenges, different areas. Then we can reach sort of like a challenge statement where it's quite clear what you want to achieve, and then you can work together with companies, academia, and the city to address this challenge. And the way we also work, and I think it works quite well, is really try to bring in companies into the mix so they can also then try to promote their solution, and together with academia and others try to develop a specific proposition. And this can be done locally, I think, using the local expertise from local SMEs, but also maybe trying to connect with international or national or other stakeholders or other companies that can have this kind of solution. So I think we will always try to bring these partnerships as well that are quite active and efficient when you're trying to address a specific local challenge. And then in the end, you manage to really deliver this kind of innovation and test and deploy the solution. And you also be ready to address all the different challenges that you may have, such as like procurement and all the others, which are quite large ones when you're really trying to change the mindsets of local governments and others. And as an example, from what I've been talking about, we've been working in India on a project focusing on clean air. So most Indian cities, they have all these massive challenges in how they can improve clear their air quality and all the health issues that this cause for the populations. So we try to sort of like implement this innovation factory model in this specific project, which was delivered in the city of Bangalore in India. So what we try to do is really first we go to the city and talk to the different stakeholders, as I said, not only the local government, but all the local stakeholders, then try to identify what exactly is the challenge, what is the challenge statement that the city may have. Then we launched an open call to select local companies, but also international companies that can sort of address this challenge. And then we try to build this, we call it equal partnerships between international and local stakeholders, so that they together can find the specific places and locations to test the solutions. And I think by doing that, we also run different sessions with SMEs, so they could also improve, their capabilities and offers. So they could test this into the market for the specific challenge. So in this case, in Bangalore, but also develop further their own solutions, so this could be applied in other Indian cities or other cities around the world. So that is really the idea of building capacity for the SMEs when working on a specific location, but also try to improve their capabilities and knowledges. And then on this specific project, we also did some sort of like test bed and clean air experimentation period, by which we sort of like, for the first time, I think in Bangalore, we managed to every Sunday sort of like close one street for cars, so people could really feel more engaged and take the street back to them. and this was very it's been quite successful, I think, in the city. So because of course this city, if you look, if this street, it was before, was like full of cars, people are not walking there, and then by working together with local companies, international companies, we managed to do all this sort of like testing and deployment of solutions. So apart from sort of incrementing and trying to help people to be more active when they are, I mean, walking more, taking back the streets, we're also installed along the city some sensors to measure the air quality, so you could see before the intervention what was the levels of air quality, how bad it was pollution, and after the intervention we can also measure, and we could see some really interesting reduction of that. So of course it's a small scale, but the idea is exactly that, just to demonstrate that by testing something new in one specific place, you can really try to scale the solutions for other areas in the city and countries and everywhere. So that's the process we use. So I thought scoping phase, identify challenges, do this knowledge transfer between local international companies, develop the call, and then implement the pilot project as I just showed there in Bangalore. So that's the model we use, and I think this is really helps, I mean, cities and places to improve the way they work. And here are some of the also companies we worked with, both, as you said, there's large, small companies, a series of other partners as well that engaged in this specific project as well. And I think, as I said, was quite successful. And now we are moving this to other countries. So we're just starting a new project similar to that in Latin America now. We are doing something similar with South Korean and UK cities as well. So I know we don't have much time, and I know we have a lot to hear from the other speakers, but I just wanted to give brief introduction of how we work with place-based innovation, how we support cities in this domain, and I'm really open to continue our conversation here or afterwards. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Guilherme, for the wonderful presentation. I guess we'll get more question later. So I guess now let's move to Dana, Mr. Tan, and Dr. Kim. The screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Nini. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from every single part of the world. My name is Tan from the Department of Natural Resources and Environment of Da Nang City, Vietnam. Coming to the city on the Front Line Talk series today, me and Dr. King will give a presentation about Nam O fisheries coastal community between tradition and innovation. There are several content we are going to talk about. The first one is introduction about Da Nang City. The second one is Namo Village. The third one is shock and threats. The next one is COVID-19 pandemic response. And the last one is solution. To begin with our presentation, I would like to introduce a bit about Da Nang City. Da Nang is a coastal city located in the middle of Vietnam with the 92 kilometer of coastal line. Along with that, the water depth in the continental shelves is 200 meters, which is forming a large, shallow water belt. Therefore, Da Nang is suitable for the development of marine economy and foreign trade. There are several pictures I put in the slide. The first one is the landscape of Da Nang coastal line. The second one is the fishery activity in our city. And the last one is the Tin Sa Port, which has been chosen by the government as a point of departure for East Coast and the East-West Economic Corridor, connecting Myanmar, Thailand, Laos with Vietnam. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay. The second point I would like to highlight is that Da Nang is the most livable city in Vietnam. There are various long beaches in our city with clear and smooth blue water, which is attracting a lot of tourists coming here every year. Besides that, Da Nang is also called a city of bridge. As you can see from the picture, we have two famous bridges for the two bottom pictures. We are all around the world. The first one is the Golden Bridge, held by human hand, and the second one is the Dragon Bridge, stunning, fighting, and watering every weekend and holiday. That's why Da Nang is the #1 destination in Vietnam. In order to sustain the development of traditional fisheries in Da Nang City, the Department of Natural Resources and Environment of Da Nang City has collaborated with PUS and Resilient City Network to carry out the project supporting local community in the future. Dr. King will take over the rest of our presentation to talk more about the PUS research. Please, Dr. King.
Everyone, now I would like to present our activity in the fishery and fish shops village. Due to time limitation, I just briefly explain you the context and some problem. I think when hopefully we met in Bangkok, I can spend like half a day telling you about the story of the village. So the Nam O fish shops village located in the north of the city. And as Mr. Tan mentioned earlier, Da Nang is a kind of tourist city, and Nam O is the very downstream areas. So the city really interested in Nam O village because this is the only unique village still continue the traditional craft of Vietnam. And also, fish sauce is a kind of popular dish taste in Vietnam. So conduct the deaf interview.
So, Dr. Kun, can you speak closer? I think we are losing you.
The connection.
So we have a household profiles, and we try to identify villagers, their livelihood, and the history. So the village livelihoods milestones can be seen in our presentations before the 1975. I mean the wars. The fishery is the main livelihood, but fish shop manufacturers serve for the families only. But then after the wars to 1994, there are three different kind of livelihoods: fishery and firecracker crafts. So this is really famous village for firecrackers, and around 90% of the household in the village produce firecrackers. But children didn't go to school or not study because they spend lots of time with the family to produce firecracker. And fish shops production still self-supply. And after 1994, crackers or firewood has been forbidden in the village. So fishery industry became more popular and the main livelihoods of the people. Then from 2006 to 2012, there are lots of factory developed under the first industrial zone of Da Nang City. So in accordance with fishery, the young generation went to the factory in industry, and the fish sauce manufacturers and fishery gradually decline. And then from 2012 to present, the workers, factory worker remain popular, but the city government tried to promote tourism activity and promote the fish sauce manufacturers, including household or very small scale producer. We identify in the fish first, and so the village located in the low-lying coastal areas of the city. So due to climate change and scenario, sea level rise is one of the more vulnerable area of the city, and it's vulnerable to natural disaster, including the coastal flood and intense typhoon. As I mentioned earlier, this is under urbanized areas. So urbanization, in accordance with positive impacts, it has changed the natural landscape. More construction result in the loss of the inshore fishing activity, and also the urbanization result in the loss of social capital. There are also spontaneous tourism in this area, and in terms of livelihoods, the decline, the significant decline of marine resource affect a loss of fish sauce production, and also the fishery. So there are also the competitiveness among the different sectors or private sectors. That's originally people here just have a very small scale fish sauce production, and under the digital marketing areas, it's very difficult for the household villager to catch with the digitalization process. So it's hard for them to compete with other enterprise, and also another declines of cultures, like the decline in terms of rituals, the coastal culture, the historic values. So we identify strategy to climate change, like people have a better understanding of natural disaster and hazards, and they try to reinforce, enhance the awareness, strengthen the house for fish sauce manufacturers. There are several efforts from the community to formalize or standardize the fish sauce production, identify the very high quality material for fish sauce, and they also established a collective or cooperative in the village. For fishery, it's a little bit difficult due to the landscape change. The coastline has been utilized for tourism activity. So there is a shift in macroeconomic trend from traditional job to office or factory job in the industrial zone. So adding to the COVID-19, it's very interesting that many people feel they are heavily affected by the pandemic. However, the villager didn't feel that much. So their sales, due to the sales supply cultures, their resilient are quite better. Even they earn a better income, because due to the lockdown, the fish sauce supply chain staff and people, the local resident in the city consume local fish sauce more than usual. But unfortunately, after the pandemic, when the lockdown is over, the consumption declines. So we, in this project, we also try to understand the reason why some already use the fish sauce in Nam O village, but they didn't buy anymore. So the village receive a lot of external as well from the city level. They receive the plan and some support from.
Sorry, Dr. Kan, we couldn't hear you well, so let's switch your screen to Gladys.
Okay, so could you move to next slide? Yeah, so for example, the support from the tourism department, they try to create a master plan to develop the tourism in this area instead of spontaneous tourist activity. And the Department of Economy try to support people for the marketing, help them to accept the or expand their market instead of sales supply within the village and their neighbors or their relative. The village located in Ly Chiu district and district government also support the local resident with the awareness rising about hygiene or environmental issues and awareness rising on the natural disaster response. Food safety department also support them to standardize the fish sauce production, and also they receive support from NGO. Like before, they have a Rockefeller Foundation projects, and the people has been awareness on typhoon response has been enhanced. So higher education institution also send their students to the village to learn and to support the people. And when we conduct this research, we also identify that there are not the two research institutions also conducting research activity to support the small-scale fish sauce producer to connect with the bigger market. Even they consider to export to the foreign country like Europe. And based on that, we propose some solution in the middle of this focus group discussion with the people. Like we developed the plan, some regulation and plan to develop the crab village in the city, including Nam O village, and develop it at the tourist destination, but connecting with other tourist destination and promotion of the external support in terms of their livelihoods, their resilient capacity. So we also, based on the investigation and interview, we developed several actions like monitoring the business of different trading activity in the village, and we improve the villagers' capacity in fish sauce production and also in selling. And more very important is how to standardize the production process, because now the process is the 4 steps already decided and announced, but in more detail, there's still much different between amongst households, and we will have a different community-based tourism activity in this area, like develop homestay or others. So this is several actions, and of course communication, like building a marketing strategy for fish sauce and also provide some important information about pricing strategy. So we learned that there are lots of fish shops villagers that even sell the fish shops at a very high price, but they still consume very well, and the detailed production process. And we make, I think, a better design of the fish shop products, like the bottle. Instead of plastic, we will have a glass bottles, and complete the different procedure, like registration for the food hygiene and safety, or the local identities, product, etc. Next, please. So I think that's still something we need to work and collaborate with the local community and the small sectors in the village. But we want to listen more from your question or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tan and Dr. Kun. There's a comment about supply chain, and it's interesting to hear that the number was up during lockdown. So that's interesting. So I guess we'll go into the last speaker. So we have Ms. Prang from Bangkok Metropolitan Administration and G from KMUTT. So Ms. Prang, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Prangchai. I'm working for the BMA. The BMA or Bangkok Metropolitan Administration has joined the program called Catalyzing City Resilience Solution, which is supported by City Foundation through the RCT network. The program intends to help Bangkok local economy to recover from the COVID-19 by focusing on empowering the critical SME sector to develop innovation and urban resilience. And with KMUTT as our partner to undertake this project. And the targeted area for this program is Bangmot Canal community. Sorry, just thank you. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the Bangmot Canal community. Next slide, please. Yeah, Bangmot Canal community is community that are located along Bangmot Canal. If you see from the map, you will see that it is located in the central south of Bangkok. It's kind of like super south, which is a part of the Chao Phraya Delta. If you see on the right of the pin, it will be Chao Phraya River, which is the main river of Thailand, and it also runs through Bangkok. And on the south of Bangmot Canal area is Thai Gulf. Okay. So sorry. Yeah. And people in the community, they are very multicultural and diverse. So there are Thai Malayu Muslim in the area. There are some Thai Chinese, Thai Buddhist in the area, and they live peacefully in the area. Next, please. Next. Yeah, and this is the view of the Bangmot Canal communities. Yeah, you can see a little bit. Next slide, please. If you talk about Bangmot or the word Bangmot to any Thai, the first thing they will think about will be Bangmot tangerine. Because in the past, this area, it has their soil is very rich, so it can produce a very juicy and sweet tangerine. In the past, people in the community, they rely on agriculture and fishery for their livelihood. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, and then afterward, the community faced many challenges. The turning points of the community are the area is affected by many seasonal flood or storm, and there was also a big one which is in year 1983. So afterward, the area is not suitable anymore for doing farming. With also the impact from the climate change, the canal is salinization because the sea level rise, and the land cannot be able to do agriculture anymore. And also the area also has been affected from the urban expansion because people in the area start to sell the land to be built for the village and townhouse because they cannot do any more agriculture. And some of the people, they even move out to look for new opportunity in the career. And also the canals start to be polluted because there are lots of garbage. Next slide, please. However, after the change, there are still some people in the area who still love and cherish the community, who still want to stay in the area, and they try to adapt themselves to survive through community tourism. So they come together and they try to have the community tourism as a new source of income. Because the area, there are many ethnic group in the area, as I mentioned already on the beginning, and with the location that has the lifestyle of living next to the canal, so they try to have the community tourism to earn some more income and still to make the community still can be survived. And then I would like to hand the floor to Miss Kanjanee from KMUTT, who will continue about the finding and the resilience assessment to help strengthen the SME from Bangmot Canal community. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Prang. Yes, I will go quickly. This picture, I want to show that we, community, university, and the volunteer group has worked on the area for at least like 7-8 years, and we witnessed the shock that Miss Prang just told you about the Bangmot tangerine disrupt on because of the flood, the big flood like 40 years ago, and the water management that are not helping. So next, please. With that you know, experience of working in the area, we with this for this project, we would like to help them recovery from both that the shock of losing the valuable fruit economy in the area, and after adapting themselves into like community tourism, they got shock again on the COVID-19. So we want to help them recovery from that. But we need to know a bit more detail. So next, please. So we do the detailed interview to get the to do the resilient assessment, and the detailed interview for about around 20 SME community along Bangmot Canal, and some of the SME owns the shop like in the picture. Next, please. Some SME owns boat service. Next, please. These are the graphic that we conclude from our interview, that we have like 3 parts of interview and assessment. So the shock and stress is very similar to what Ms. Prang just informed you. Next, please. Of flood and COVID-19. This is the picture of the historical picture of tangerine producing in the past, like 40 years ago, and everyone in the community still remember that day. Next, please. But since they cannot do the cannot practice the valuable fruit economy or agriculture anymore, they still be able to grow some mix fruit and such as coconut or mango, but it's not that valuable to make them prosper in the market. So they with our help and other network helping including BMA and the district, try to explore new kind of economy in the area that using. Next, please. Okay, this graphic okay, this graphic show the vulnerability assessment that actually the when we have detailed interview, we understand that the community have weaknesses on the people in the community itself, that we are like facing the aging society, and the young and the young generation has been out migrating out to because of the lack of the valuable opportunity, the economic opportunity. Next, please. This show the overall resilience. It show that there is 3 area that the community, SME community, feel kind of helpless about and less resilient. First is the basic needs that relate to kind of water quality. The second is about environment and natural system that also relate to the change of land use in the area, less green agriculture land, and also the more pollution, both water and air pollution. And the third the third is about physical infrastructure, that they have that they feel that is not very communication service and also water management. Next, please. These graphs show the detail of that resilient indicators that I just talked about. Next, please. This graphic conclude what we learned, finding that we have from that resilient assessment. So vulnerability is about access to education, aging society, and out-migration, shock, flood, and COVID-19. And the stress is about water qualities, air qualities, and opportunity, economic opportunity. Next, please. Yes, learning that resilient of the community, we ask the community about their future. So what did they have in mind about the future that they for the area? So these are the picture that they pick represent what they want to see in the future. And you see that they still want to see blue green culture and lifestyle in the area, but what they need, new thing that they need is the probably better management on the environment, new kind of space and activities that will help them sharing their blue green lifestyle and culture to others. And they also want to work in a network, just as we have been working together. Next, please. And next, please. I want to end the presentation today by this picture that we, oh, sorry, go back, please. The picture that we try to represent the collective vision from the SME in the community, that they want to still have the blue-green culture and lifestyle, but also want to share that to others, to visitors outside. Okay, that's the information that we will use for to helping them plan the recovery this time. And I think it's our opportunity to work with the Resilient City Network and BMA for really helping the community starting new kind of economy, so that they have resilient future. And if they can they can make the community resilient. There is a similar community setting like this throughout the city. So every other communities can do the same and can make the city more resilient. Thanks so much, Ka. Back to you, Nini.
Thank you very much to all the presenters for these very, very inspiring stories. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. There might not be time for many questions, but let me start with the first one. I think it cuts across the three stories that we heard, but perhaps we can start with you, Guilherme, which has to do with the famous scale up, right? I mean, you work at the SME level, and especially as you come with innovation. It was very clear from your presentation that you're trying a few things, a very small scale, And then the question is, what's next after that? So any thoughts on that one, please?
Sure. No, thanks. Very, very good question. And I think the whole idea, of course, is try to do this sort of like small pilots, but at the same time, you are also connecting like the international SMEs with local SMEs, so can sort of develop their own propositions. And then the idea of scale would be for them to be offering these services. Could be to the cities, to this one specific city. I mean, the example could be Bangalore, but then I think it could be like a global market for that. So I think the idea is really develop specific solutions, one specific place, but then this could be used, across the country or across the world as well. So I think that's briefly the idea. And we've been quite successful. I mean, here in the UK and other places by really leveraging these SMEs and bringing them some revenue to try to create some really good propositions after the trials.
Anything to add from the others? Perhaps, the Bangkok experience towards the end, you mentioned that, it would be good perhaps other communities to replicate. Have any thought has been given on how to leverage the experience that you have undertaken in other places in Thailand or the region, perhaps?
Maybe Jik, you can take the question on replicating innovation.
Could you ask again, please?
No, just if it's a very interesting experience, the one that you have said, and you have towards the end of your presentation, you mentioned that you might want to see if that inspires, other communities in the country or in the region. So if you can just share your views on that.
Yeah, there is in Thailand, the origin of the culture always from waterways. So these the community, the Bamot community that we working on is one of the community that have a settlement on that waterway network, and every one of that still have like uniqueness on the both nature and culture itself. So if we can help this community recover from the changing of the the climate change and urbanization, and how they adapt, better adapt for their community resiliency and sustainability, we can use that model to the other community can repeat this kind of model. Actually, almost all the big city in Thailand, we have similar, it's kind of different but similar situation like this that we have to deal with.
I think we run out of time, but I just want to have a very quick comment regarding to how to scale up the pilots, because piloting activity allow us to identify the lesson learned and share experience. It can be something positive, but also the negative interventions. And like in Vietnam, we have a long coastal line with a lot of coastal communities, and we have a population around more than 100 million people. So the fish stock production remains a very potential livelihoods for the very low income in the coastal areas. So my keywords, it can be the lesson learned before scaling up. Thank you.
Thank you for all the wonderful speakers. It has been a really good session. Unfortunately, we need to bring this to a close. I would like to remind everyone that the next session will be on 27 October, same time. So ahead of the next COP, we will have a session on cities on the road to COP27. So on behalf of Resilient Cities Network and the World Bank, we thank you for being here. Goodbye and good night, good morning and good evening for you who are starting your days. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khan. Guilherme, Miss Prang, and Mr. Tan.